So let's briefly discuss semicolons. The basic rule of semicolons is that you need to have a complete SVO on each side of the semicolon. If you had a complete SVO on each side of a comma, that would be incorrect, right? Because it's a comma splice. However, if you put a semicolon between the two SVOs, that is the correct sort of balance for the use of a semicolon. And here's a graphic that I show to make this point into a kind of physical metaphor for you. So we have this semicolon, a big semicolon in the middle, and it is sort of the base of a scale on which either side of balance an SVO. So the semicolon carefully balances the complete subject, verb, object on each side. And you can kind of think of this when you want to use a semicolon, ask yourself, is this scale balanced? Here's the idea in sentence form. The plane was considered the fastest in the world, semicolon. We made it from Boston to LA in under 2 hours. So notice in the bottom version here, we can convert each side of the semicolon into its own sentence, and they work. They're complete sentences. They're both SVOs. The plane was considered the fastest in the world, period. Complete thought, complete sentence, independent clause, SVO, and likewise for the second sentence. We made it from Boston to Los Angeles in under 2 hours. So this top version of the sentence with the semicolon, those SVOs are nicely balanced, like in the graphic with the scale. Now, as you'll remember, there is another key rule for semicolons, which is that each side of the scale has to relate to the same topic. So when we get a sentence such as this absurd example that I made up, I fall in love very quickly, semicolon, my grandmother had a dog named Winston. Grammatically, this is okay, but it doesn't meet the requirement that both sides of the scale have to be about the same topic. So this does not count as a good use of a semicolon for the reason that these two topics do not belong in the same sentence. I think that's fairly intuitive. And so just to close out the semicolon video, let me put up this example of a possible email that might be sent that uses a semicolon. Dear Jean Grummerspatz, I am writing to express my interest in the assistant teaching position, semicolon. I am a hard worker. Sincerely, David Dunderhead. Now, this is grammatically a correct semicolon, and it meets the requirement that both sides of the scale have to be connected to the same topic. In other words, these are both connected to the topic of David trying to sell himself for this assistant teaching position job, right? However, in an email that is this short, the semicolon looks weird, doesn't it? It looks a little, pretentious, a little odd, a little bit like it's drawing attention to itself. So this is a lesson in style. A semicolon in the middle of a 3-page essay is not going to look odd, but a semicolon in a short email will look odd. Neither of them is necessarily grammatically wrong, but the style feels weird when it's used in this short email. So I'm not going to test you on something like that in the quizzes, but it's something to keep in mind as we go through the semester. There are these sort of unwritten rules that are a little deeper even than getting grammar and spelling and mechanics right. There are these conventions that say things like, probably if you have an email that's one sentence to someone, you probably don't want to put a semicolon into it. Some people may understand why that's the rule, why it feels wrong to have a semicolon in such a short email. Some people may not, but that's the kind of thing I want to start us thinking about in some sense and developing that intuition that a good writer has about when to pull off certain writer moves, such as using a semicolon. All right, enough for now. See you in the next video.